Bonjour à tous et bienvenue pour ce tout nouveau live en direct de la Star Wars Celebration au Japon où l'on va découvrir un tout nouveau jeu vidéo Star Wars qui va se dévoiler, un certain Zero Company qui prendra place pendant la guerre des clones. Justement, découvrons le premier trailer.
When people talk about the Clone Wars, they talk about the big moments, the crisis points, planetary invasions, all-out assaults, cities bombed to rubble. Truth is, there's a war you don't see. The one fought in the shadows, the war beneath the war. A war that's won with the right strategy. Surveillance, ciphers, good old-fashioned sabotage. These aren't the heroes they tell stories about. They're professionals.
Le trailer est stylé en tout cas.
Setting aside their differences to take on the impossible.
Après ça a évidemment un trailer CGI mais
And they get it done.
il est cool. On aura un peu tous les profils en plus. Star Wars Zero Company. Là on est sur du gameplay, donc vous voyez le type de jeu. Un jeu auto par tour, effectivement je suis pas très habitué à ce genre de gameplay, mais ce sera une découverte. Sortir en 2026. Oh nul. Ah je pensais que ce serait un jeu qui sortirait cette année. Oula. Alors ça c'est pas moi, c'est pas normal qu'ils affichent le prompteur. Pourquoi ils affichent le prompteur? Oh la technique aux fraises.
Well, everyone, I'd love to formally welcome you to the Star Wars Zero Company panel and to talk about this brand new game coming to PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Please let me introduce you.
Voilà,
to
ça sort
our
bel et bien
wonderful
sur
panel. We've got
Next
Vid
Gen,
Reactors, Greg
enfin sur des
Fudge
gen,
and
sur Current Gen maintenant parce que bon ça fait quelques années que sont sorties ces consoles là. Et on a les développeurs qui montent sur scène.
Lucasfilm's Orion Kellogg and Kelsey Sharp. And Respawn Entertainment's Jim Vasella.
On va voir, je sais pas si on aura d'autres images que ce trailer.
Hello everyone.
Je suis déçu pour 2026, je pensais que ça sortirait cette année.
Give them all a big round of applause, everyone. This is Readers Behind the Game.
Donc un chouïa déçu pour la date de sortie, qui est même pas précise. Hein.
Let's go down the line and everyone introduce yourselves and what you do in the game. Greg.
Thanks, Lucy. Before we get started, we have a whole team home working on the game. You think you guys could give them a little shout out, give them a little love? Awesome. All right, thanks everybody. I'm Greg
Est-ce que je peux vous
Furch.
mettre les
I'm the game
sous-titres? Il n'y a pas les
director at
sous-titres
Vid Reactor.
malheureusement.
I originally pitched this game to Lucasfilm, and my job is to oversee the entire development of Zero Company.
I'm Aaron Contreras, narrative and cinematic director. I lead the team responsible for the game's story, characters, and narrative gameplay systems. This is my third Star Wars project following Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor.
Donc il a travaillé sur les précédents jeux.
Hi, I'm Jim Vasella, a senior producer at Respawn, helping with the full production of the game.
Le panel est
I'm a
annoncé sur 1 heure.
lifelong Star Wars fan. I'm the type of person who camped out for the prequels in high school and college. And as a producer, I've been making strategy games for over 20 years. And so this was a dream project for me when I heard about it, and I jumped at the opportunity to join right at the start.
Après je comprends que certains soient pas fans de ce genre de jeu, un jeu tactique au tour par tour et tout. Après c'est ça aussi le jeu vidéo, c'est pas que des jeux solo d'histoire à la Jedi Fallen Order, etc. C'est aussi parfois des jeux un petit peu différents et je trouve que c'est bien aussi de diversifier surtout Star Wars. On pourrait dire pareil de Marvel, etc. hein. Mais c'est des univers qui peuvent tellement être dérivés sur plein de types de jeux. Pardon, je suis toujours aberré, enfin aberré ça veut rien dire, mais je trouve ça aberrant qu'on n'ait pas de nouveaux jeux vidéo de combat Star Wars, tu vois, quand tu vois le potentiel, ça existait à une époque, mais c'était pas ouf. Jeu tactique, j'adore, mais moins le tour par tour. Je peux comprendre. Faut voir après pour ce qui est de l'histoire, ouais, je sais pas à quel point elle sera développée. Par exemple, Marvel Midnight Suns, moi j'avais adoré, tu vois. Ouais, jeu tour par tour, il y a le lapin et crétin et Mario Bros de Nintendo, ouais. J'ai pas joué, je sais pas ce que ça vaut. Pensez à lâcher un petit pouce vers l'eau si ce n'est pas fait, ça fait toujours plaisir.
Well, what a crew! A round of applause. Well, I mean, let's get things started with, I think, the big burning question that everyone wants to know the answer to. Greg, just what exactly is Zero Company and how did this game come to be?
Ah ouais, on voudrait savoir ce que c'est le jeu.
Yeah, Star Wars Zero Company is a single-player turn-based tactics game with an original story set during the Clone Wars. We formed BitReactor back in 2021, and we had this idea that turn-based tactics games are a genre that just has so much room to improve on with like innovation in storytelling and immersion, and really could reach more fans than people really think. So we really went in that direction with it. That's how we've really been focused for the past several years.
J'essaierai de vous résumer ce qu'il dit, mais écoute.
We've been working a few prototypes, had some concepts for some games. Then when out of nowhere, I got a phone call from Vince Zampella.
Wait, how do you get your number?
Just looked it up. I don't know.
Bon, il confirme les trucs bateaux qu'on savait, voilà, que ce sera un jeu solo, tactique, tour par tour, etc. Qu'ils ont quand même voulu mettre du storytelling, donc il y aura quand même visiblement une histoire pendant la guerre des clones, du coup.
Some of the biggest games in the industry, like the Star Wars Jedi franchise. Vince was asking me for my thoughts on creating a Star Wars game. Now, I've been a Star Wars fan since I saw A New Hope in the theaters when I was 4 years old. So I think you can all imagine like my reaction, right? Lots of
Donc là, il parle quand il a vu le premier film Star Wars à l'époque, donc autant dire, voilà, en tant que fan, c'est ouf de faire ça.
So we talked about the possibilities of developing a tactics game with the most beloved, most storied franchises in the world. And you know, it's the perfect combination, honestly, one that I couldn't believe had never been done before. So now we fast forward to today. You know, we're working really closely with Respawn, Lucasfilm Games, to leverage their history of making incredible games.
Donc il travaille avec ces différentes personnes pour faire un jeu incroyable.
While we're at it, I can't say enough about our partners here. Like, they've been absolutely the best and super supportive of us. So couldn't ask for a better group.
Oh, well, right back at you, Greg.
Bon, il remercie les équipes, quoi, globalement.
You know, like I said before, Lucasfilm Games, we're big strategy game fans here, and it really was about time, right?
Ah, Battlefront 2, ouais, Battlefront 2 est magnifique.
We have a strategy veteran like Greg and a lot of the other team members at BitReactor. They know what they're doing there. They have a lot of other extremely bright, talented devs working there. Hello to all of you watching.
Il dit voilà qu'il y a des développeurs incroyablement compétents, je sais pas comment on pourrait le traduire, mais en tout cas qui vont travailler dessus.
We know they're going to make a great Star Wars game. We know they're going to make a great strategy game, and hopefully together they really innovate the genre. So, Greg, we couldn't be happier to have you in BitReactor, and we couldn't be happier to have Star Wars Zero Company.
I love this love. This is so
So
nice.
much love.
This is
It's
so
all about love.
Well, the trailer has such a different tone.
C'est du bateau pour
and
l'instant, c'est
vibe
voilà, on
from
essaie de
what
faire un
we've
très bon
seen
jeu
from,
stratégie,
more
très bon jeu
modern,
Star
recent
Wars,
Star Wars
de
games.
combiner les deux.
Greg, can you talk a little bit about
que c'est ce que
the
j'ai compris.
vision for the game?
Sure. When we set out to develop Zero Company, we wanted to create an experience where the deep history of Star Wars and their galaxy is married with the engaging gameplay of turn-based tactics, of the turn-based tactics genre. In that process, we established 4 design pillars that we hold ourselves to every day. The first is start with Star Wars. It sounds simple, but you know what that really means to us is we stay true to the franchise. Part of that pillar is working with people that know Star Wars inside and out. So not only does that mean working with Lucasfilm Games, but also people like Aaron, who works at BitReactor now. But Aaron used to work at Respawn, where he helped develop 2 of the most successful Star Wars games ever made in the Jedi series.
Donc là, il cherchait le statut du jeu dans l'univers, entre guillemets.
Greg and the team had
Et
already
qui travaille avec
chosen the
Respawn, qui
Clone
ont fait les
Wars
Jedi
era,
Fallen Order
which
et
is just a
Survivor.
fantastic setting for a turn-based tactical game.
And I think it's worth noting that we're also working alongside Gordy Habb, the award-winning composer
Yes.
from the Jedi series, on our music and soundtrack. And Gordy's going to bring, a new cinematic feel to the tactics genre, and of course, deliver on that authentic Star Wars sound.
Donc il y aura le même
So the
compositeur, si j'ai bien
second
compris,
pillar
que
that
les
we
jeux
really
de Jedi
follow
Survivor
is
et Fallen
meaningful
Order.
choices, and that's where thoughtful decisions impact the gameplay.
You're going to play as Hawks, who's a customizable hero who leads Zero Company. The decisions you make, what jobs to take, who to assign to your squads, and how you fight on the battlefield will have pivotal consequences in every playthrough of the game.
And the third, and this is one that's very close to me, is we want the game to be cinematic and approachable, something that I've been kind of championing for a long time in my career. And this is where the genre, I think, can really be great. The thing we try to live by is the depth of the game shouldn't really cost you elegance in how the game is presented, right? Like depth and immersion, they're not mutually exclusive things. As players, you should expect both and you should get them. So, you can see in the screenshot, we move the camera around depending on where the gameplay moment is and what we want you to feel as a player. So yeah, and when we first started talking about this game, I think one of the very first Zoom calls we had with Orion, I was describing, how we really wanted to change this perspective, and I described it to him, and he summed it up. So I'm kind of borrowing from him. He said that depth shouldn't cost you elegance, and it's really something that's stuck with me. And all these years later, something that we really, really try to follow.
We just want great games.
Yeah, man.
Here, here.
The fourth
pas grand-chose
is strategy
d'intéressant,
and
là.
combat. And what that really means is think high-stakes battles with deep gameplay choices where we're delivering on both the tactical and the strategic layers as one cohesive experience. It's not just something that players experience in two separate halves. It's something that's woven together through the gameplay along with the narrative. So all this together, and if we've done it right, and I think we have, it results in a core loop of gameplay that's got thoughtful pacing and decision-making coupled with an amazing original Star Wars story.
Amazing. And I mean, all of this is so important because getting that Star Wars feeling is so important to get right. Orion, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. Like, what were you thinking? What was going through your head when you saw the pitch for Zero Company? Was it an email? Was it a PowerPoint presentation?
I think we probably started on a Zoom, like most things these days, right?
Ils ont commencé avec
So
un
we
Zoom,
started on
donc
a
c'est souvent le
call,
cas.
and I knew we had Respawn, we had BitReactor.
J'espère qu'on n'ait pas
and
d'autres
with
images que le
Respawn,
trailer, hein.
We've been telling stories with them for over a decade. I already talked about that. We were excited. We hope you're excited for another Respawn story, right? And with BitReactor, we knew their legacy. We were fans of the games that they have made. Absolutely, and we knew what they were capable of doing, and so I was like, okay, let's do this. I'm stoked, absolutely stoked. I think that's the precise term. And so making a strategy game in Star Wars, what do we have to do? What's our role in this? Well, let's give them a place where they can make meaningful decisions in the galaxy. Let's find a spot where they can make the best game possible, and hopefully we've done that.
And I mean, let's dive into the setting because the game is set in the Clone Wars era. I mean, Kelsey, Aaron, can you tell me a little bit about why this setting is so perfect for a game like Zero Company?
Definitely.
Pourquoi faire cette période pour le jeu?
So the Clone Wars are kind of a unique part of our timeline, right? Because when you look at the stories that we tell in the Age of Rebellion or the Age of Resistance, they tend to feature almost exclusively asymmetrical warfare, right? It's like a little guy going up against insurmountable odds. But the Clone Wars are uniquely perfect for Zero Company because it's when we see two relatively evenly matched forces, the Republic and the Separatists. And that backdrop creates so many interesting places for Aaron and his team to set their camera for their story, right? Because we know the conflict is unfolding across multiple planets, across the galaxy. There are multiple different forces and factions.
Ils disent que c'est une bonne période parce que voilà, plein de planètes, vraiment deux clans
There
entre
are,
guillemets.
boots on the ground altercations, but there's also smaller strategic
s'affrontent, quoi.
initiatives, and it's those kinds of clandestine missions where I think this very intimate and character-focused story that Aaron's team is working on really gets to shine. And that's why I'm so excited, why everyone at Lucasfilm is so excited for Zero Company, because if you've watched the Clone Wars, and I have a feeling some of you in this audience have, you know that we have never shied away from showing how complicated that conflict was, all the shades of gray, but I really think Zero Company is going to be one of the first times that players actually get to go hands-on with that, the war beneath the war that was mentioned in the trailer.
Yeah, we're inspired by the political
c'est la première
intrigue
fois
of
qu'on veut jouer
Andor,
un
the
jeu dans la
gritty
guerre des clones.
battlefield perspective of Rogue One, and of course the mythic pulp adventure of the original trilogy. We love how all of those stories
des concept
respect
art.
the intelligence and attention of the Star Wars audience, and we aim to do the same. None of the characters in Zero Company are flawless or immune to a fatal case of blaster poisoning. You'll have to lead your team with care and conviction, and at times make difficult decisions with permanent consequences.
Ooh, well, I'm dying to hear more. I'm dying to hear more about the story. Aaron, what can you tell us about the story and who we're going to play as?
Yeah. You're going to play as Hawks. They're a disgraced former Republic officer who now leads Zero Company. They're an elite outfit for hire specializing in strategic investigations and high-risk tactical missions. The operators under Hawks' command are a ragtag band of hero, outlaws, and exiles from all walks of life. You'll have to unite them against an emerging threat that, if left unchecked, will spread across the galaxy and consume everything in its path. Ooh. Set against the epic backdrop of the Clone Wars, you must lead Zero Company in a shadow war against a corrupting force that no conventional army is equipped to counter.
Yeah, if there's one thing we know from Star Wars, it's that those who seek power and control will also seek opportunities and opportunistic allies. And the face that they wear when we first meet them might look very different from the face that they wear by the end of the story. And it's those kinds of questions, like the big questions: who are my true allies? Who are my true adversaries? What do my adversaries actually want? That we think the players and Zero Company are going to be chasing down answers to together.
Yep, but Hawks can't find those answers alone, and that's where your team comes in. You'll build your squad from a mix of custom characters you create and original Star Wars characters authored for the game, and all of them will have a story that evolves as you play through the game.
Ooh, well, it sounds like we're going to have plenty of options to build our very own version of Zero Company. We got a little bit
Le fait de pouvoir créer notre perso, je suis pas convaincu de l'utilité, mais bon. Je trouve que pour l'histoire, ça se dessert souvent
So
de
this
créer
is
notre
Trick.
perso.
He's a clone soldier whose laconic wit masks a haunted heart. Trick has been with Hawks since they both served in the Republic military and was injured in the same disaster that cost Hawks their career.
Yeah, it's not a Clone Wars era story without a clone character's perspective, and as our Celebration audience knows, the clones might all look alike, but each
C'est pas
one
la
has
guerre des
their
clones
own
sur les clones, ça, c'est
personality, and
logique.
I think you're going to have a lot of fun getting to know Trick, because as Aaron alluded
Le
to
panel
earlier,
Ahsoka,
the
c'était à 3h du
members
mat.
of Zero Company
Il n'y a pas eu grand-chose
can be
d'intéressant.
drawn from all around the
Je
galaxy, and
récapturerai
that
ça peut-être demain,
includes
parce
from
que
across
une
battle
vidéo aujourd'hui, ça me paraît
lines.
peu
So one
intéressant.
particularly incendiary member is Luco Bronk. He is an Umbaran sharpshooter who still hasn't forgiven the Republic for invading his homeworld, but that shadowy adversary that we alluded to earlier is going to be such an intimidating threat that we'll actually see a Republic clone trooper like Trick and a separatist Umbaran soldier like Luco teaming up on the same side.
But if left unchecked, those divisions on the squad could escalate into conflict or worse. Next up, we've got Clive Calervo. They're an infamous Mandalorian gunslinger and one of the last surviving members of the ancient clan Verminoth. She joined Zero Company because she sees him as the most direct route to completing a very personal vendetta.
I love that design. I want to join Clan Verminoth. And something tells me that if this audience is excited for a Mandalorian, you might be excited for a Jedi too.
Évidemment, il faut un
So in
Jedi.
this case, it's our Padawan Telria. Telria is on a quest to finish her fallen Jedi Master's final mission. Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Tel's character design was actually one of the first pieces of character concept art that we saw from Star Wars Zero Company, and she hasn't really changed very much since that very first submission. Of course, I love all Star Wars aliens equally, but why a Tognath for Tel?
Why not Tognath, Kelsey? I don't know. It's always fun to see a different alien species as a Jedi and explore their unique perspective on the Force.
Awesome. Yeah, one of my roles at Lucasfilm is working on our lore and continuity team, and so I'm always excited to see a character like Tel, because if you're familiar with the species of Tognath, really the most known Tognath character that we have from the brand is Two Tubes from Rogue One and from Andor. Yeah, woo, Two Tubes! But obviously, like, he and his brother represent a very particular hardline perspective on the galaxy because they're part of Saw's partisans, and so I love to see a character like Tel, right, who was raised by the Jedi, who probably has a very different perspective on the galaxy. I mean, spoiler alert, she does. Because one of my favorite things is getting to remember that in Star Wars, it's not just the humans who are the characters, it's the aliens as well.
And she has 2 lightsabers.
Pas un Jedi humain,
That's pretty
bon, ça,
cool.
on l'a
She
compris.
also has 2 lightsabers.
Il a été pas mal
You noticed
modifié.
that.
So these are 4 of the operators you can recruit into Zero Company over the course of the story, and we'll have more to reveal as time goes on. But you're always free
On
to
aura plus de
create,
reveal plus
recruit,
tard, mais
and
on
deploy
évidemment.
a full squad of entirely custom heroes if you want to.
Well, I mean, Hawks in the trailer says, and I'm gonna murder this voice, I'm sorry. They're professionals. Setting aside their differences to take on the impossible. I'm not available for voice work, don't even try. But that, to me, sounds like maybe they're not the best of friends.
You are
Merci
exactly
Francisco
right,
pour
Lucy.
ton
Not
sponsoring.
everyone in
Merci
Zero
beaucoup à
Company
toi.
sees eye to eye, but the more they work
Bienvenue à la
together
commu.
and face
T'as accès à des vidéos
adversity,
sans
the
publicité
deeper their
et
bonds
certaines dans
grow and the
l'avant-première.
stronger your team becomes. You'll see that reflected across both story and gameplay.
We mentioned gameplay there, but before we dive a little bit deeper into that, I do want to come back to something I heard Aaron mention a couple times. Greg, did he say customization in a Star Wars game?
He definitely did.
Le récap, c'est rien de nouveau.
You can personalize the
Oh,
appearance and voicing.
Si sorti en
class of Hawks.
2026.
So as you can see, you know, this is a hallmark feature from the best tactics games, and we're ecstatic to see what Star Wars fans make with it. You can play as any combination of Hawks that you want, and it's just super powerful. So we're providing
On peut
players
un peu
with
faire
this
ce qu'on
deep
veut, quoi, créer notre perso visiblement.
customization system that extends to individual characters you can create and recruit in Zero Company as well. So you'll choose from a variety of
Créer notre perso, c'est
archetypes,
toujours
select their
compliqué pour l'histoire parce que du
species,
coup tu
range
perds un
of
peu, je
authentic
trouve.
Star Wars
C'est un débat.
options like custom astromechs, Rhodians, humans, and fully customize their appearance and outfits. You can even
Ah ouais, un jeu qui
rename
a
them
bidé,
to
il y a des
your
chances,
liking.
effectivement.
What if I wanted to go
Après, c'est
all
pas
astromech?
le même investissement
Well,
qu'un Outlaws, tu vois. Genre, c'est un
Squad.
jeu tactique, tu sais très bien que l'ambition
You
est pas la même derrière
can
qu'un jeu
actually
AAA, quoi.
do that.
Yes.
Tu peux customiser ton droïde.
I
Ok.
love that murderer's
Le
row
petit
of
R2D2 violet,
astromechs.
là.
And I also love what you were saying about customization, Greg, because we had so many
Il y a la version
conversations
Ikea aussi en
during
jaune et bleu,
production
là.
about how, as fans of this genre,
Qui veut un droïde
you really
Ikea,
wanna
là?
feel like, well, these are my characters, this is my Zero Company, and the choices that I make in gameplay mean I'm going to have a different playthrough from the game playthrough that you're going to have because of your choices. But at the same time, as Star Wars fans, we're always kind of wondering, like, well, how does this impact the larger story? Do my choices really matter?
Oui, non, mais
And I
Outlaws a
think
bidé parce que
you and the
justement il
team at
coûtait
The
cher,
Reactor
etc.
have
C'est pour
done
ça que j'ai
such
dit
a
enfin,
good job
qu'il
at
avait
really
coûté
threading
cher
that
et que
needle so that
le taux de
every
rentabilité
player
était
is
plus
gonna
important.
understand
Enfin,
how
il fallait plus
their
de
Hawks and
ventes
their
pour
Zero
être rentable.
Company are
Ce que je veux dire par là, c'est
impacting
que le
the
jeu
larger
coûtant moins
Star Wars
cher,
timeline.
Yeah, for sure. We can tell they are really happy with being able to customize their character, customize their squad. We know at Lucasfilm Games that you've been
le
wanting
futur
to
décor
do
sera
that, and
dévoilé
we're really
bientôt, il
happy
est
to
terminé
let you step
techniquement,
into
mais
the
juste j'attends
galaxy with
d'avoir la
your
bonne
team.
occasion pour vous le
And
montrer.
we're also really happy to see how you're going to combine your creations with our creations and the authored characters.
Comment on dit en suédois
Not
robot?
only is it going to impact the story, but it's also
ChatGPT.
going to impact the gameplay. Yes, there are ramifications for rolling deep
Comment
with
dire
astromechs, but
robot
I think impacting gameplay
Robot en
pretty awesome too.
suédois.
I mean, let's jump into talking about gameplay. Greg, what
Ah
can
bah
you
ça
tell
se dit
us
robot aussi,
about
putain chiant.
what we'll be doing
Je
when
veux
we're
un
playing as
nom
Hawks in the game?
typique
So as
Ikea.
Aaron mentioned, this is a story about an emerging new threat, and Zero Company will have to do to stop it.
On peut l'appeler
Choosing
Robat.
your best squad for each mission is key because the stakes are just so high.
I mean, so high, in fact, that
Ou
even
bip bip, mais c'est un peu
permadeath
nul. Hein.
and the limited ability to save your game are available on certain difficulty settings. Now, that being said, if you are first and foremost a Star Wars fan, and if you are
Écoute, ça
maybe a
veste.
newcomer to the strategy genre or the tactics genre, we'll have difficulty settings so that you can also enjoy the story and get through the game. But no matter what difficulty you choose to play on, you'll have the most fun by creating a versatile strategy and utilizing all the variety of weapons and abilities and more to be successful.
So that means my tail can live forever, right?
The Clone Wars is a dangerous time for some Jedi.
All right. So in between adventuring across the galaxy to embark on these
Je
missions,
pense pas que ça dure une heure en
you'll
vrai.
return to Zero Company's base of operations, a place we call the Den, which is located on the Rank of Freeing, which you may remember from Rogue One.
Oh, Rogue One?
Yeah, and here you'll be able to socialize and catch up with your team as well as recruit, customize, and outfit all those new operators. And throughout the game, you'll be able to upgrade this space to really fit the needs of your playstyle for Zero Company. The Den also has this incredible galaxy map where you'll get to choose what strategic tasks and tactical missions to go on next.
C'est un peu leur base,
You know,
donc tu peux
players
choisir
are
ta
going
mission,
to
etc.
always balance risk and reward to stay ahead of their adversaries and gaining a leg up in the next fight. You know, as you all well know, the galaxy is always shifting and changing as the Clone Wars progresses, and so you as a player will have to be adapting your strategy as well.
Well, Orion, can you elaborate a little bit on how this game fits into the overall Star Wars galaxy?
Well, yeah, like I said before, our job at Lucasfilm was to give BitReactor this huge playground to play in. And, you know, as Kelsey was talking, the Clone Wars, huge campaign, so many things going on, really an infinite platform for all the stories the player can wrap their arms around. So in the Den, when you're interacting with the galaxy map, on scale alone, you're dealing with the biggest and most immersive map we've ever put out in a game. So while it's early in development,
Oh, la map.
we did want to give you a sneak peek at the place where you're going to see how your choices impact the galaxy. And we think that doing that in this time frame with this squad is going to really stand out and make Zero Company really special.
I mean, that's right, Orion. And I mean, this is going to provide us some exciting innovation opportunity for the genre with how you can
on a
influence
la
your
confirmation de la plaine
journey
de
through the
Shambhala,
story.
qui existe réellement dans l'univers, mais on l'a pas vu dans les films.
Broader level, a selection of these
Ou ni la
planets
série.
will also be viable for the tactical missions you go on, allowing players to, you know, deep dive into richly detailed, you know, authentic Star Wars battle locations, both new and familiar. And, you know, Orion, say, might be infiltrating a
c'est juste
separatist
mentionné
base
dans un bouquin
on one
Rogue One
planet, while
novel.
Kelsey might be raiding a pirate outpost on another. And these are, you know, a few examples of the types of missions and locations you have to go on throughout the Star Wars journey.
Jim, I think in one of the first in-person conversations we ever had, which was, I believe, at a restaurant in San Francisco during GDC.
He was wearing a bib.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe some cioppino was being eaten at the time. But you mentioned how, like, as a fan and a producer, you were so excited and, like, geeked out about translating our very expansive galaxy map into this really cool, immersive, and interactive feature. And I think well, first of all, I just think you're all going to have so much fun, like going through the interactive map, seeing all the planets that you recognize. But that level of fidelity also means that you're going to get to have some really fun gameplay on planets that you might recognize from some of our other storytelling. So, you know, Greg mentioned earlier that the Den is based on the Ring
Les
of
décors sont
Kafrene
jolis. Après,
from,
bon, évidemment, c'est pas
Rogue
aussi beau en
One,
vrai, mais
and,
c'est
you might
joli.
have heard it shouted out in a certain episode of Andor Season 2 if you happened to be in that panel earlier today. Woo! And then I'm excited to confirm that the planet that you saw the heroes disembarking on at the end of that trailer is Seralonis. So Seralonis was originally developed for the Clone Wars and then first seen on screen for the first time in Bad Batch Season 2. And you'll get to go to some other, you know, cool deep cuts and Easter egg type planets as well. Snowy Bandor from Solo, as well as a newer planet, Mapuzo from the Disney Plus Obi-Wan Kenobi series.
And more.
So many more.
Donc là, elle disait qu'il y avait des planètes qu'on voyait dans The Clone Wars, dans
looks
Obi-Wan,
like
mais
it.
j'avoue que j'ai perdu les noms.
You
Parce que,
teasers.
pour les comprendre en anglais, savoir comment ils écrivent.
Jim, earlier you mentioned that you could socialize with your squad mates. I mean, I'm dying to see the Zero Company group chat, but I really want to know how those social dynamics come into play when you get to the gameplay.
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, every decision matters for you and Zero Company, you know, from the next mission that you choose to go on, but more specifically, you know, what squad members you
Vincent l'a vu
choose
tout à
to
l'heure.
send on each one of those missions. You know, an important factor in the dynamics of those choices and their consequences is how the squad members will bond together over time, where you can turn, you know, enemies and rivals into trusted allies. So, you know, for example, as Aaron and Kelsey were mentioning earlier, Trick, our clone trooper, and Luco, our Mbaran, don't exactly seem to get along. But if you choose to invest in that partnership by sending them on missions together,
Fortnite,
they may
c'est
be able
demain.
to improve that bond over
cette
time,
nuit.
and that could ultimately decide
On n'a pas
their
l'horaire
fate
précis,
in
je
the
crois.
game.
Donc c'était
Yeah, this
révélé
is-
depuis.
When I was talking about Found Family earlier, this is really where that comes into play and impacts the gameplay. I think it's the kind of thing, these battles forged on the battlefield, evolving, is the kind of thing that means no two playthroughs are alike. And I think that's going to make everything really special.
Yeah, and additionally, it's really important to emphasize that this bond system applies to both the authored characters, as you saw in the trailer, but also all of the custom characters that you create yourself. So as all of these characters grow more experience as they go on battles together, they're going to unlock new combat synergies, such as, say, teamwork reaction shots. And this has been one of the real treats working with Greg and the team at Bit Reactor, is that they're bringing their expert experience in making strategy games to Star Wars Zero Company. And we've seen this manifest in the gameplay with features like this.
No, couldn't agree more. I mean, pillar number one was start with Star Wars, right? And I think when you plant those seeds early, as the game starts to develop and the abilities and characters start to get fleshed out, you see the Star Wars emerge. So you might be playing a tense mission where one of your characters is about to permanently die. And one of your astromech buddies might roll in and be able to toss them a healing stim.
Bon, c'est un peu les mêmes images qui remontent à chaque fois là, mais bon.
Or you might be rolling with, I'm sure Kelsey will be rolling with
Pas
Tal.
exactement le même genre de jeu, mais j'avais bien aimé Minions Suns,
Tal will
donc
be able
Marvel,
to
donc je me dis
use
que ça
the
peut être peut-être un
force
truc qui peut me
and push
surprendre.
somebody out of cover so that a
C'est une petite
sniper
histoire
can
cool
take them
derrière,
down.
franchement, c'est bien.
And it's those kind of moments that just emerge as you're playing that make it not only a really deep strategic gameplay experience, which is really, really, really important, but also feel like one that could only happen in Star Wars.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving hearing you all talk about this game.
En fait, tu pouvais déjà créer ton propre perso dans Marvel Midnight Suns et je trouvais que ça ne servait à rien. Je trouve que ça gâchait plus le récit qu'autre chose et que tu aurais pu créer prendre un personnage de l'univers direct.
Do you have any other little reveals or hints you want to give this wonderful celebration crowd?
Oh,
Maybe.
autre reveal.
Maybe you're gonna make them work for
I
it?
mean, that's why we're here in Japan, right? Yeah.
Il y a un autre truc à révéler.
Yeah, in Star Wars, ships and droids are built to last and almost always bring this strong sense of history and personality with them. And Zero Company, of course, like everyone, needs a ride to get from the den to their missions. So I'm truly excited to say we've created our own new starship for Star Wars Galaxy. This starship is a great example of the approach and care that the team has put into
Ce sera
every
notre vaisseau du
environment,
coup dans le jeu.
every detail,
Pas
every
The Annonce, mais
character, their personalities all the way down. So lots of attention to the detail in there. So we really do view this ship as a character, right, when we're making it. So it's built with the idea that we want to have a personality and we want to think that it's got,
Donc créer le vaisseau
it fits
comme une
really
personne avec de la
well in the
personnalité,
Star
etc.
Wars universe with all those iconic ships. So this is the Kazon.
Yeah, I just want to shout out the Bit Reactor art department quickly because obviously there's always
Bon, je m'attendais un peu plus fou
iteration,
sur,
when
sur le
you're
reveal,
designing
mais
something
ok.
new for Star
Yeah,
Wars,
yeah.
Je suis sûr qu'ils vont annoncer un nouveau jeu.
they've
Je rappelle que ce jeu il sort en
art departments
2026.
everywhere. But I feel like they really got sort of the heart of Star Wars design very quickly. And one of my favorite parts of my job is getting to open up an email or a
le
new
vaisseau est
Jira
cool, hein.
ticket and say like, oh wow,
Pas très
amazing
élégant,
art
mais
for
c'est
me
pas
to
le
look
but.
at.
It's an awesome experience because, like, you go from being fans, right, and we're all fans, to then being
Eclipse,
students
non, c'est
for
pas du tout
several
rien à voir avec
years
Knight of
it
the
and
Old
really
Republic,
diving
hein, c'est
deep
notre jeu.
into it. And you guys make it easy. You guys keep us on track and give us some great information as we're studying the lore and really getting into the Star Wars of it.
And clearly every ship needs a
Le jeu, c'est
go-to
Star Wars
pilot.
Zero
Could you give us a little bit of
oula,
insight on how
Zero
you landed
Company,
on a
Star Wars Zero
droid,
Company.
Well,
to pilot the Kazon?
So while we're at
They
it,
like him.
Ah.
I mean, you're making a ship, right? You may as well make a droid.
On
So,
l'a déjà vu ce droïde là, ça me dit rien.
so yeah, when we thought about the ship, we were thinking, well, who's going to drive it? So we realized we had an opportunity now to not only just make a ship, but now we can make a droid too. So
On n'aura
how
pas
often
du
does that happen,
The Night
right?
of
Four-year-old me
du
was cheering. So,
Night of the Old Republic et du Eclipse pendant cette Star Wars Celebration.
We got to create our own
C'est des
ship.
jeux qui sont un peu trop en galère, qui
and
vont
the
prendre
droid
encore un
lives
peu de
Star
temps
Wars
avant de les dévoiler
gameplay
plus.
forever. So we knew the ship had to be versatile to accommodate all the different missions that it could be taking Zero Company on. Of course, we wanted our pilot droid to have a really unique personality too. So after, lots of conversations between our team and the teams at Lucasfilm, and just maybe a couple iterations, we came up with the Kazon and its pilot Mevo, who will be joining Zero Company on this journey through the galaxy.
That's M3VO, Mevo.
So cute. Who doesn't love a new droid to fall in love with? Now, we are kind of wrapping up here, folks, but do we have any last words to say from the group?
Sure. If you couldn't tell by now, hopefully you can see how passionate we all are when it comes to Star Wars and Zero Company. We can't wait for players to experience our authentic Star Wars story through every aspect of the game, from choice and consequence to customization, down to the course of tactics and strategy. This game genre in general just blends so nicely with the galaxy, and we really just can't believe nobody's done it before.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun collaborating with the teams at BitReactor, Respawn, and Lucasfilm. I am incredibly proud of the fantastic writers, designers, and cinematic artists on my team, and we hope all of you enjoy playing Zero Company's story as much as we did making it.
J'espère qu'on aimera autant y jouer que eux ils ont aimé à le faire. Je pense que c'était ça.
Right, and you know, Star Wars at its core, it's all about characters, right? And as we keep coming up with new gameplay scenarios and new stories to tell, there are going to be all sorts of opportunities for surprises that we'll announce in the future. But we can't wait to hear what you all speculate, who we might run into in this game.
Yeah, so as you can tell, we're just getting started talking about Star Wars Zero Company, and we are excited to share more of what we're building when we're ready very soon. So, and Star Wars Zero Company is releasing on into 2026. Wow. It's coming close. On
C'est pas
PC,
si close, hein, c'est pas si proche. Hein.
Xbox Series X and S.
Amazing.
On en aura plus prochainement. Je serais pas étonné qu'on en ait plus genre cet été à l'occasion du Summer Game Fest par exemple.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. A new Star Wars turn-based tactics game is launching next year. Can you believe
Je
it?
pensais vraiment que ça sortirait cette année. Hein.
A couple of final things before we go. We are doing giveaways of this wonderful announcement poster here at Celebration. So don't forget to claim one in Hall 7. There are limited availability, so get one before they are gone.
Les gens sur place doivent avoir un cadeau, genre fin certain.
Thank you to our wonderful panelists. Give them a
Je
big
pense que c'est
round
une
of applause.
affiche du jeu, un truc du genre. Une affiche limitée.
Thank you,
En édition
Lucy.
limitée.
Yeah,
plutôt.
thanks,
Yes,
Lucy.
and thank you to everyone out there in the crowd. Appreciate you all.
Thank you, everyone.
C'est tout pour ce petit panel. Enfin, on va voir ce qu'ils vont
How
nous
about
dire.
we
Je
roll
pense que
that
c'est la fin.
trailer one more time?
Let's roll it.
Allez, on revoit le trailer.
When people talk about the Clone Wars, they talk about the big moments, the crisis points, planetary invasions, all-out assaults, cities bombed to rubble. Truth is, there's a war you don't see. The one fought in the shadows, the war beneath the war. A war that's won with the right strategy. Surveillance, ciphers, good old-fashioned sabotage.
Ah. Ok. Bon, bah, on n'aura pas la fin du truc. Il y a que chez moi que ça bug? Ok, bah en fait, ils ont juste coupé le live, quoi. Bah les couilles. Genre, ils ont même pas attendu la fin du truc. Ils ont coupé le live, c'était celui d'Electronic Arts. Je pense que celui de Star Wars doit toujours être actif, mais après, c'est le trailer qu'on a déjà vu. Bon, ok, bah d'accord. Electronic Arts, ils ont dit, c'est bon, on peut couper. Le trailer est pas fini. Non, t'inquiète, on coupe. On coupe. C'est pas grave, ok. Bref, de toute façon, le trailer, vous l'avez vu, je peux vous le remontrer après, hein, si vous voulez. Hein. En vrai, je peux vous le montrer. Star Wars, Zero Company. Il n'y a pas d'autres jeux, et en vrai, alors par contre, pour le coup, pour dire que Eclipse et KOTOR, ce serait forcément dans une grosse conférence, bah non, bah la grosse conférence, c'est la Star Wars Celebration. Hein. Je veux dire, Jedi Survivor, il a littéralement été balancé comme ça, le trailer, hein, le premier truc d'annonce. Hein. Donc, pas improbable. Hein. Voilà, le trailer est là.
Truth is, there's a war.
Peut-être que je peux vous l'avoir en français là. Bon, français Canada, mais c'est bon.
The one fought in the shadows. The war beneath the war. A war that's won with the right strategy. surveillance, ciphers, good old-fashioned sabotage.
En vrai, ça peut être intéressant un jeu qui se passe pendant cette période.
These aren't the heroes they tell stories about. They're professionals. Setting aside their differences to take on the impossible. But that's the job, and they get it done.
C'est con parce que tu fais un teaser comme ça de film et je suis hypé de ouf. Bon après ce genre de gameplay c'est toujours la déception après le premier début de teaser mais bon ça peut être cool. Sorti donc en 2026 et c'est en collaboration avec Respawn. Alors c'est pas qu'il le développe hein, mais c'est en collaboration avec Respawn qui a notamment fait les Jedi Survivor et Jedi Fallen Order. Ça sortira sur PC, PlayStation 5 et Xbox Series. Pas de Switch 2 pour l'instant annoncé, mais je serais même pas étonné que ça finisse par arriver. En tout cas, c'est prévu pour sortir en 2026. Voilà, je pense qu'on a fait le tour. J'espère que ce petit live matinal sur ce panel Star Wars Zero Company vous aura plu.